You said this place was steps from the water.
We just haven't found the steps yet.
How much did we save?
Enough.
Enough to get lost?
Or you could book a stay with Hilton.
Welcome to your oceanfront room, just steps from the water.
The Hilton sale is on now. Book on Hilton.com or the Hilton app and save up to 20% to get the stay you expected. When you want savings, not surprises, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay.
Some things happen fast, like a vacuum finding your lost earring. A dog reacting to the word walk. And settling up with friends on the PayPal app. Send and receive money in seconds. Access your balance to send, shop, pay bills, and more. Download the PayPal app to get started. An account with PayPal is required to send and receive money. A PayPal balance account is required to hold and use a balance.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
This is the Blue Moon Podcast. Coming up, we've got all the news and views from Manchester City's week. It's your club, and this is your show.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't really know how to approach today's Blue Moon podcast. A second trophy of the season was won on Saturday before City fell at the final hurdle trying to take the title race to the last game on Tuesday. And all of that against the backdrop of the news that Pep Guardiola will leave the club at the end of the season. There's just a big melting pot of emotions right now. Joy at the FA Cup triumph, optimism of what this young and talented team could achieve in the future, but also disappointment that a title race City didn't really deserve to be in didn't go all the way down to the wire. Then there's the crushing melancholy of knowing that it's the curtain call for the greatest era in the club's history. Good luck trying to process all of that. We're talking about the games with Chelsea and Bournemouth on today's show before we look ahead to City doing it one last time under Pep against Aston Villa. Strap in, everyone. It's not going to be an easy one this week, so I've drafted in two of the finest to help me through it. I'm David Mooney, and with me I've got City fan Ciaran Murray. Hello, Ciaran.
Hello, David.
And from the Manchester Evening News, Simon Bajkowski.
Hello.
Hello. Simon, I'm going to start with you on this. I mean, Ciaran, hello. And the reason why I've drafted you in is normally on this one we would do the alternative highlights and it'd be a load of fun. But it just didn't really feel right in the week that Guardiola's probably going. So
I know what a spoilsport Pep is.
Yeah, we'll do that another time. Simon, I want to ask you about this because Guardiola, it turns out, has one or many burner accounts and has been reading everybody's tweets. So is there anything from being far too online that you hope he knows about?
I mean, I can tell you about him reading my tweet, if you'd like to say that story.
Yes.
City played at Dortmund in a Champions League game, and he started Ortega over Ederson, and I checked and there was no injury to Ederson. So I breezily tweeted, a bit of a big call to start Ortega when Ederson's not injured. Ederson wasn't in the best of form. And I thought nothing of it. And then I was in the mix zone after the game waiting for players. Pep walked through the mix zone to head for his press conference, and then saw me, said hello, went on, then doubled back, tapped me on the arm and said, "Bit of a big call to start Ortega, eh?" Went all right. And I just thought, what on earth are you doing an hour before kickoff reading my tweets out of anyone? What else? What other nonsense are you getting up to an hour before the game that you surely have better things to do?
Ciaran, I just really hope through all of this, I really hope he knows about the tortoise, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The tortoise and Mangala.
Yeah.
Yes. The same person, really. One and the same, the tortoise and Mangala. Or a rewriting of the classic fairy tale.
How would you feel if it turned out that he did know about it?
About the tortoise. Well, the fact that Jack On has, like, it made the Daily Mail, the actual print and online version of Sports Mail, like, with that incredibly daft Photoshop, like cheap phone app Photoshop of a tortoise with the old city crest on it, like badge. Yeah, so I would love it. It would be unbelievable. It's nuts. I mean, the lads were trying to get a tifo organised for the Arsenal game with that tortoise on it, like. But it's a funny one because I was thinking about this last night. Like, classically, you know, I've tweeted that after whoever we've been chasing slips up. So, you know, it used to be Liverpool. Last season it was Bournemouth, Brentford. And then this season, and you know, for a few seasons, obviously Arsenal. But it sort of dawned on me last night that the slow and steady wins the race idea behind it was kind of what Arsenal adopted this year, you know, that like slow, careful, cautious, boring approach. So yeah, it kind of changed the meaning a little bit and made me even sadder. Are you announcing that you're retiring the tortoise at this stage? Listen, in a week of gargantuan news stories, I'm going to add another one in. RSVP the tortoise. Yeah. Simon, it's also been reported that he's been sitting in Ancoats just doom scrolling. I don't think he's ever been more relatable, has he? Like that's like everybody doom scrolls.
Yeah, but it's kind of it's at the point now where, like, I'm listening to him speak in press conferences and I'm thinking, your algorithm's the same as my algorithm. Like, he brought up Ryan Cherky boxing on the same day that I'd just seen Ryan Cherky boxing that morning. I was like, yeah, that probably means you are seeing a lot of, I mean, I'm guessing he's seen a lot of Donnarumma hate tweets, because that has been probably 40% of my timeline. So, yeah, he's just very online. It happened, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago. He just kind of like went down a social media rabbit hole and has never returned, which, you know, it is nice to know that he is relatable in that way. Yeah, he's human. The first one I remember him mentioning that sort of indicated that he was online was when he's like, I've read it, I've seen what people say, Fraudiola. Yeah. So he was aware of Fraudiola. Obviously hurt his feelings so much that he just doom scroll after that. Like, there's no happiness to be gained online, is there? No, absolutely not at all. And here we all are adding to the noise. Ciaran, it's looking at the football then. It is impossible to kind of remove the week from the bigger story. So winning the FA Cup, losing the Premier League title, Guardiola leaving. How are you feeling? How are you dealing with it all? I feel really sad, and that's it's really hard to put into words. Just like what to feel. The FA Cup, which was, you know, such a pivotal moment as a City fan, you know, to win that in 2011, and then you know the seas changing and the mood becoming one of kind of fresh hope and optimism, and then, you know, to win that FA Cup, you know, there's a sort of buzz in the background that Guardiola might be leaving, and then there's the anxiety that, you know, we're still in the title race, but it's going to be very, very difficult, and if we don't win it, you know, the antithesis of the football that we've come to love and enjoy under Guardiola, you know, was going to defeat his brand of football that, you know, that we're so fond of. It all, you're right, it is a melting pot. It's just such a roller coaster. The fact that the FA Cup match itself wasn't great, you know, it absolutely wasn't a classic. I'm delighted to have won it, obviously, delighted to have won the League Cup, obviously, but there was a little bit of an empty kind of void after it, that, you know, that the happiness dissipated quite quickly, I suppose, because
there was just so many nerves and anxieties ahead of about Pep and about the league. And then, on Monday for Pep to break, the Pep story to break, and then on Tuesday for the title charge to end. It's just a massive anticlimax, which is so sad because the season, the 2 trophies in the season, and some of the things that we've achieved this year as well. Like beating Arsenal was class, winning at Anfield, amazing. It's just, there was a little bit of love and passion and connection came back again, I think, this year after a few years feeling a little bit off colour with it a bit. So now it's just this void. How do you fill it? Because the future's so uncertain, So it's dead weird. I really would have loved to have won the league. I really would have loved to have stopped Arsenal in their tracks. And so the double blow of not doing that, and seeing Guardiola so heartbroken and ponderous after the past 2 games, it's just, it's really, really hard to articulate.
Yeah, Simon, what's he been like in the press conferences lately? He's been, it feels like he's been very nostalgic, and it's kind of, it's been like this one big open secret because of the way he's been talking.
Yeah, he has been very nostalgic, and just kind of talking in the way of a man who knows he's coming towards the end. But then at the same time, he has been resolutely saying that he has a contract and everything like that. It's quite funny that obviously we'd done the press conference on Monday before the Bournemouth game, and I'd kind of given him a very crude 1-2 of like Iraola's final home game. Like, what's that going to do? And then, have you ever thought about how you'd want your farewell to be? And he
that's great.
Glared at me and just said next.
He hates you, man.
Yeah. But then the story then came out at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whenever it did. And then you've got, that bit was obviously in the embargo, so then at 10:30 you've got Pep saying, no, I've got a contract. And it's like, even last night at the Bournemouth game, you're like, just give it up, man. Just admit it. None of this like, I've still got a contract and still going to speak to my chairman. Like what he said, how his mood has been over the last weeks, and almost, the year, because he will have been thinking about it for the year, even if he didn't, decide that long ago. It has all felt like we're moving to an end point with it this summer. And yeah, it is sad. It's really sad. But at the same time, it feels like it's been coming for ages, because people have been saying, we spoke to Bernardo at the start of the season. And he was like, for the last 5 years, somebody has said to me it's Pep's final year, and he stays every year. And who knows, maybe he will, pull a Wolf of Wall Street on Sunday and grab the microphone and say that he's staying again. But it feels like he's leaving, and it is a fitting time to leave, not only because he's won 2 trophies, got a great squad, but as Ciaran was saying, like, he's going out in his way, and he's not won the league, but like, how fun is Cherky to watch? Haaland's a goal machine. Kusanov is a hell of a central defender now. Like, there are so many exciting players in the City team, and players that fans want to watch and fans have a connection with.
But you can't leave that now, can you? You can't get it to this point and then leave it.
If you're Pep, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I hope he doesn't. I mean, in many ways, I hope he does change his mind and stick around after Sunday. But also, given the amount of work I've put into making this episode the Pep farewell episode, I really hope that it's not wasted work. Simon, I wondered if the last week kind of summed up City's season in many ways. Generally, pretty good. They've been good enough to get over the line in various ways at different times. They've won the FA Cup, but overall, consistency is just not been quite at the level they've needed to take it all away.
Yes, I would agree. And they have, at various points, looked like they could kind of overtake Arsenal, not least when they beat them in April. But at the start of 2026, they looked like they could, and then they had 3 draws in a row, and none of those draws in isolation were terrible, but together in a row. And it felt like they wouldn't have drawn against Chelsea in particular if they hadn't lost first Guardiola and then Diaz, but they did. And then the Spurs draw, like there's been a lot of whinges about referees all season, and I think that is a lot of that has been valid. But like Rodri after the Tottenham game was moaning because of the decisions, but because the team are not quite good enough to be able to overcome those decisions and mean that they're irrelevant. And that just kind of bled into it again. I mean, Bournemouth, it wasn't like it was like there were loads of bad decisions, but like the Haaland offside was strange, from the same linesman that had let Margay sort of nearly get injured by not putting his flag up for Trooper being about 10 yards offside, and then like not playing the extra injury time after Haaland's goal. And it's not like, oh, this is a conspiracy against City referees, but it's like they've not been able to put those to one side and say, well, we're going to win it anyway. And I mean, Guardiola kind of, I don't know if he was saying the news around him made a difference, but 3 days after Wembley, it was always going to be really tough, and City looked flat because of that, I thought. They just didn't quite have enough. And they've not quite had the squad. They've not quite had enough people firing that Pep could make changes for games like that, and the fringe players come in and make the difference. So yeah, it was disappointing. I think a lot of people expected it because of the way the season's gone. But second place is still pretty good.
You see stats pop up all the time about clubs and players, and you want to know that exact thing about City. There's an answer. Statscity.co.uk. Want to find out all of the players who played alongside club legends like David Silva, Sergio Aguero or Vincent Kompany? Or maybe you'd like to know which team found it hardest to score past Joe Hart. You can find out City's record in every competition, at every stadium, and under every manager. Just go to statscity.co.uk and browse away. That's statscity.co.uk.
Wishing you could be there live for the big game, soaking up the atmosphere of the crowd. But too often, life gets busy, or the price holds you back. Priceline is here to help you make it happen. With millions of deals on flights, hotels, and rental cars, you can go see the game live. Don't just dream about the trip. Book it with Priceline. Download the Priceline app or visit Priceline.com. Actual prices may vary. Limited time offer.
There's a new way to sweet green. Meet Wraps. Handheld, hearty, and made for life on the move. With bold, chef-crafted flavors, fresh ingredients, and over 40 grams of protein, they're built to satisfy without slowing you down. Try Wraps today in the app or at order.sweetgreen.com. Available at all participating locations.
Ad-free episodes are available on Patreon. Sign up at patreon.com/Blue Moon Podcast.
When Guardiola signed his last contract extension last season, one of the big contributing factors to it, he said, was that he didn't feel the team was in a place that he could leave. He felt like he had to fix all the problems that were there. And you get to the end of this season, and yes, they haven't won the title, but they've been there or thereabouts. They've been in the title race up until the second last game of the season. And they've won both domestic cups. You can't argue that the team isn't there or thereabouts anymore. The problems that were there, there may still be problems with the team, but the biggest ones have been fixed.
Yeah, there are still some big ones, and sometimes Haaland. It's interesting to hear Simon calling him a goal machine, because there's no denying that he is, but there is a bit of an issue with Haaland that Pep, I don't think, could ever really completely sort. And I'm sure that there'd be angry listeners up in arms over that because, his first season, like all sorts of records broken. But he's never been a classic Pep player. And one thing about sort of having Guardiola, a genius, managing City for these 10 years, has been, the sort of football education and understanding then what a Pep player means or what a Pep player looks like. And understand why Bernardo would be one or David Silva would be one. And, having Donnarumma in net and Erling Haaland up front, to me, under Pep, they were problems. Because they're not classically in the mould of him and, his brand of football and how he likes to play. So loads of problems have been sorted, and the hope and optimism for the future is absolutely there. What would be really nice would be, if a new manager comes in, I'm really excited to see what happens with those kind of players who are amazing and on their day can do all sorts of brilliant things, and who seem like a great bunch of lads, and I really love them being in a City shirt. But sometimes they just, what they're there to do, they can do. But all the sort of little other miniature parts around it, there's still some sort of figuring out with that. And it would be really nice to see when Pep is so dogmatic in how he approaches players like that, how another manager maybe would get a tune out of some of the things that aren't always working. But yeah, it is like Kusanov, amazing. Nico O'Reilly, just so good. Gehi looks like a great signing. Hope for Semenyo for the future. It would be nice to have Rodri back firing again. The way he can be. Doku looks great, and that the sky's the limit for him. Foden has looked back to himself fairly recently. So yeah, there are loads of exciting things, and that is again why we were able to push Arsenal so close in the end. It's just, do you know what's really annoying is like when our backs were against the wall against Bournemouth, the last 20 minutes, let's say, and the substitutions had come on, and it mattered how well they were playing and how fast they were playing and how the level of intensity, and it made me think maybe that's why City were so successful in the Cups this year, and had broken a record, didn't they, about the first ever club to win both the league and the FA Cup without losing a game in either. So no need for replays, no need for extra time or penalties. And I'm wondering, is that when their backs are against the wall, that is when they can turn it on? Because all those draws this season, we haven't been beaten in the league since the 17th of January, but all those draws, just, I don't know whether it was tiredness, complacency, a lack of nous, the fire wasn't there, and then the intensity and that need to win, as maybe in a knockout competition, you do have that all the time, just as a matter of course. Maybe that contributed a little bit to the league this year. But yeah, just a funny old season, like.
In the midst of all this, though, Simon, they did win the FA Cup, and they did win it with, I mean, it wasn't a classic performance, but they stood up to Chelsea and kind of were big and brave in the moments they needed to be, and there was a finish that was, I mean, an absolute classy finish from a guy that's come in and really boosted this second half of the season.
Yeah, I don't want it to seem boring, but I feel like most people probably had the same thought a few months into the season of like, this team isn't good enough to win the league, but they could win some cups, because you could see the consistency wasn't there, but also you could see there were the workings of a really good team. And I don't think City ever had it in them to get 90 points, so they kind of weren't expecting themselves to win the league. But then, like, Arsenal should have put them to bed weeks ago, really. It's kind of, I don't think it's been a great year for the top teams. It's been quite exciting in the Premier League, but I think City kind of have a better Premier League team than Arsenal are would have put City away long before last night. So yeah, and getting Gay and Semenyo in early kind of sets up the summer business, because you look at the business that's needed in the summer, and those are two positions that have already been filled, so won't need work doing. There's still a fair bit to do in midfield and right back, but and maybe up front, but at least that work has already been done, and it worked bringing them both in, because City were really struggling in that January when they lost Diaz and Guardiola, and like the impact of both Semenyo and Gay has been really, really good. I hope that Semenyo kind of picks up a bit. Feels like he was electric when he came in, and then he's dropped off. And having seen another forward signed for City in the January window and look pretty good initially, and then have what has to be considered really an absolute stinker this season, Marmoush. He's just not got going at all. You would hope that Semenyo can do better than that, but City got better as the season has gone on, and there's reason to think that they will get better next season still, and be better for their experiences this season. It's just a huge kind of void to replace the best manager in the world.
Yeah. Ciaran, the celebrations, I guess, were purposefully brief after the FA Cup. But did you see in the kind of trophy parade on the pitch that Guardiola was welling up?
Yeah, I did. And because the noises on Twitter and what Sam Lee had been saying so often on your other podcast, David. You
can't name it. It is allowed.
It's cool.
Don't give it the publicity.
Let me talk. Other podcasts are available. So you sort of had a feeling, and it was weird because he'd been saying that on the podcast for 5 or 6 weeks. It felt like, maybe, I don't know. It went from jokey in the background, maybe once an episode, to all of a sudden he was saying it 3 or 4 times, not so jokey. So having the kind of background and context and the fears, even when David Ornstein announced it in January, to trust him kind of, and the denial and trying to scratch it away, even though somewhere niggling in the back of your mind there was a chance that you realise that this was going to be Pep's last season, and how quickly Maresca was named alongside it as well, and how that would never really go away. So all this sort of reading between the lines, and then seeing something as obvious as looking around the Wembley Stadium with tears in your eyes while your team lifts what was likely to be, and what proved to be, the last trophy they would win together. It was heartbreaking. It was horrible. And when he walked away from the players applauding the fans, did you see that as well? Against Bournemouth?
Yeah.
And that, he was dressed all in black, and it was dead late at night, and to me he looked old. He looked a bit broken. Like things had caught up with him a little bit. That absolutely handsome. He was always so full of vim, and so full of just always enthusiastic and over the top and mad, and just
don't you have to say vigour when you say vim? You have to say vigour, don't you?
Do you know what?
They're two words that come together.
You know what? Fuck the police. I like to go. I like to do my own thing when it comes to vim. Yeah. So when he walked away and just with his head bowed a little bit, it just it did look a little bit funeral procession-esque. And when, as I say, you can read between the lines. We're not thick. We know what's going on. It just. Heartbroken, because it sweeps away just 10 years of emotions and highs and lows and happiness, and a bit of a rock, a bit of something that would ground you through all the madness since 2016, and just you're realising you are watching him say his goodbyes without saying his goodbyes. Just really did tug at the heartstrings, that one. It's horrible.
Well, we're going to do some more of that now, and since you mentioned the 10 years, Ciaran, I think I think we should have a bit of a recap of his time at City. So after 10 years, 20 trophies and a raft of broken records, it looks like the end of an era is upon us. It's been reported this week that Pep Guardiola is calling time on his Manchester City career. We're going to talk about it all now, so let's go all the way back to the start. The 1st of February 2016 was the day that everything became real.
I talked with the club and I finished my contract in the original date, on June.
Manuel Pellegrini announced his departure from City at the end of a rather innocuous pre-match press conference. The club then announced that an agreement had been reached with Pep Guardiola to take over as head coach.
I'm so glad to be here, and thank you for Manchester City for giving me this amazing opportunity to live in England, to be part of my job in the Premier League, and I am pretty sure we are going to enjoy.
And from the start, expectations were high.
Is your target to win every competition? Because you've got the Capital One Cup coming up. Do you want to win all 4 competitions you can? I know it's difficult, but is that the aim?
What the fuck? So Manchester City arrived once in their lives in the semi-final Champions League. So when the people believe I'm going to win the Champions League because I am a real good coach, I don't think so, guys.
We perhaps didn't realise at the time the vision of what Manchester City could be under Pep. His era started with 10 wins in a row in all competitions, and that blinded some into thinking that it was going to be plain sailing from there. But he knew he had a lot of work to do to change attitudes and to build an empire.
We are a good team, but many things can make better, so of course we are so happy, but I said before, it's not enough.
And when the form dipped in that first season, City fans could sense there was a feeling of schadenfreude, that there wasn't an instant transformation. Why did City persist in playing from the back when it was costing them goals?
Could you just say what you think about John Stones' performance today? He's been criticised a lot this season, but he seemed to play very well.
John Stones had more personality than all of us here together in this room. More balls than everyone here, guys. So, and I like that player. I love. With under pressure, the people criticize him, the people say, well, he went there and play again, and when I play, when we talk, when we that. So I am delighted to have John, with all his huge amount of mistakes they have. I love him.
It all came to a head after a 4-2 defeat at Leicester, where City didn't win a tackle in the first 35 minutes of the game.
I'm not a coach for the tackles, so I don't train the tackles. So what I want is try to play good and score goals, arrive more, so what's tackles?
But by the end of that season, there were a few signs that a transformation was happening. There was good form in the final few weeks, and then investment in the fullbacks over the summer gave the team some freshness, and then what followed was unprecedented. City won the title in 2018 with 100 points, smashing record after record, and playing a brand of football the like of which had never been seen in the Premier League.
It's 100 points. So still I cannot believe it. So Premier League 100 points, so it's a massive achievement. So 100 points is a lot. So 50 points at home, 50 points away. So it means how stable, how good we were all the season.
Many of the opposing managers that City came up against that season admitted after games that they didn't have any answers.
Some of the goals were outstanding, irrespective of our level of defending today. It would have been really hard to defend a number of the goals today.
When we play teams like City, and when they are in a good moment like they are, they come here to play a strong match.
We're playing against a really top quality team that when they get in the lead are capable of showing the full register of their technical ability.
They are in a very good form, very good momentum. They are showing that why they are the best so far.
A year after winning 100 points, City became the first team to successfully defend a Premier League title in a decade too. They needed a 14-game winning streak to close out the season to hold off a Liverpool side that scored 97 points. And they did that while also winning the League Cup and the FA Cup, becoming the first team ever to win all 3 domestic trophies in the same campaign.
It's one of the best seasons I have experienced as a manager. To be 10 mounts, playing all competitions, and the fact that no teams with incredible teams have done in this country, and be the first means that if one team is able to do that, another team is going to repeat sooner or later, but we were the first.
So 3 years in, and already the questions from that first season looked silly. But when it didn't go to plan in 2019-20, even though the club did lift the League Cup again that year, things needed a reset. And what followed raised the bar even further, as City won back the title and retained the League Cup in 2021.
This one, due to the pandemic situation around the world, that makes this title a little bit different. But the pleasure to win and the amount of effort behind makes every title, especially the Premier League, is always so important and so nice.
12 months later, and Guardiola was a title winner again. By this stage, though, the style of the team had changed, and the false nine era where City played without a striker had them dominating games like never before. And it was a remarkable afternoon on the final day of the season, as City got over the line against Aston Villa.
You have to close something that is the mouth is so difficult. It's the service to win Wimbledon, so it's the most difficult one. And we won one for our momentum. We were fortunate and lucky that we scored the second one so quick. And after, when we saw the time still to play, so it's 12-15 minutes, it's our momentum, and we get it.
After back-to-back titles, there was another change the next season. Erling Haaland's arrival meant a switch in style, and in winning their third title in a row, and that as part of a treble alongside the FA Cup and Champions League, Guardiola's ideas went into overdrive. He'd had defenders stepping into midfield before, but none to the extent that John Stones was doing it that season. It led to remarkable team performances, especially in Europe.
You've obviously not just won the Champions League, you've done the treble. And what kind of emotions does that mean to you and the players after?
I'm fine. I'm not over happy. Tomorrow after tomorrow, I remember when I was a football player, won the Champions League with Barcelona in '92. And after with the manager, I celebrated the day after, 2 days after, we realized, what they have done has been really, really great. It's time to celebrate it. I'm looking forward to Manchester on Monday afternoon to put in our coach and bus the 3 trophies.
Up to that point, 3 top-flight titles in a row was the best any team in English football history had done. By the next summer, Guardiola had 4 in a row. David Moyes was the West Ham boss that he beat on the final day that year.
You used to win the Premier League, and meanwhile the other teams were preparing to try and catch you the next season. This guy's just gone and won it 4 years in a row. So that myth about the Premier League, you can't win it back to back, he's certainly blown it sky high.
But from that unbelievable high, things were about to fall to pieces, and in spectacular style. A serious injury to Rodri wasn't the cause of the winter 2024 problems, but it was one of the dominoes to fall. An ageing squad, fatigue, players carrying injuries, and stagnation in the transfer market all meant that City just couldn't compete. At one point, they had a run of just 1 win in 13 games.
When you lose a lot of games, it's a business you have to win. This team showed that never ever was a team that is consistent for as long as much that we have, and now we are the other side of we break all the records, we broke all the records, now we install another record. So in the other side, that is the truth.
From then until now, though, City have been steadily rebuilding. It wasn't a pretty solution last season, but Guardiola was able to find stability to comfortably finish 3rd in the table. Then this year, with a whole host of brand new players and difficulties finding out how they fit into City's style, Guardiola still won both domestic cups, and he held up a title challenge until the final week of the season.
I had the feeling that the season always you have to be the fact that the perspective is good. For many years experience from many leagues, pretend it's done. You have to win in every week and every game and every month. You have to, to win it again. There's nothing for granted. So next season we'll be back. The City will be back, and we will try to bring the team in that sense that competing until the end in the competitions.
Without realising it, all of our perspectives on what football is and how it should be played has changed. That first season where Guardiola's methods and style were questioned is a long time ago. We were told it wouldn't work in England, and it did. We were told it only worked because of the money, yet no other big spenders in the league have got close to Guardiola's consistency of both results and performances. we're still told that the charges undermines it all as well, and we wait to see the outcome of that case. But one thing is for sure, it wasn't allegedly breaching the Premier League's FFP and PSR rules that had John Stones marauding around the final third against Real Madrid and Inter Milan, or that had Joao Cancelo playing number 10 from the left-back position. That is all down to Guardiola.
Do you almost feel like, even though you are appreciated, it's once you leave, people will say, okay, cause it's almost taken for granted that you could somehow produce this, whereas there's a lot of hard work behind it.
They know that. They don't need to wait when I'm leaving. They know I've been fun. I've been fucking fun. So 90 titles, 5 for the 20 in 10 years is not bad, honestly.
And now Guardiola leaves City as the club's longest-serving manager in terms of games, the club's most successful manager in terms of trophies, and the manager that brought a style of football and level of performance that none of us could possibly have imagined. It's been the absolute best of times, and it's been a privilege to watch every single minute of it happen over the last 10 years.
Hello, this is Jason Manford, and you're listening to the Blue Moon Podcast.
This is a Bose moment. You've been there before. Somebody's apartment, small talk that's going nowhere, plastic cup that's almost empty. It's not great. Then someone hits play on a Bose speaker. Heads nod, feet tap, one person dances, then everyone does. Awkward becomes electric. When Bose sound fills the room, you don't just hear the music. You feel it. Your life deserves music. Your music deserves Bose. Find your perfect product at Bose.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Pool days call for cookouts and lots of laundry. This Memorial Day at Lowe's, save $80 on a Charbroil Performance Series 4-burner gas grill. Now just $199. Plus, get up to 45% off select major appliances to keep dishes, clothes, and food fresh. Having fun in the sun is easy with us in your corner. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 5/27. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. See associate or Lowe's.com for details.
If you enjoy the show, please give it a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts.
Simon, 10 years is extraordinary for a man who was only staying for 3. It's absolutely flown by, hasn't it?
Yeah, and was getting sacked after 6 months when his football experiment failed. It's it's been just nobody expects him to stay anywhere near that long. I think there's obviously a lot of jealousy when City got him in 2016, and then because he'd been 4 years at Barcelona, 3 at Bayern, it was kind of like, it was a bit like Alfie Haaland said for Erling, like he'll just kind of go around all the top European leagues and spend a few years at each and win them all, a bit like a sort of football manager style when you Guardiola would never take a rubbish team to the top flight, would he? But he
I thought you were just going to say when you would go around all the leagues and win them all. Make the analogy of it being exactly the same.
Yeah. He's just stayed and stayed because he's loved his time at City. He's loved his time in Manchester, and it's kind of one of the more interesting debates, I think, which is probably resigned to the City fan base because it's a bit niche. But like, how many teams has he actually had at City? I think the most common answer is probably 3, but there's an argument for more.
Yeah, I think there's an argument for more because I think I would separate the Centurions and the team that came after.
I think the false 9 team.
Well, not quite the false 9 team, like the 18-19 team that was That was a point ahead of Liverpool, and the reason, and this is such a niche thing for me, but the reason is because in 17-18, Sane was on the left, Sterling was on the right, and then they flipped that over for the next season, and so the style obviously isn't the same. Like, they're not playing with wide wingers.
Yeah, I'd still disagree with you, but I take your point. But yeah, I'd say 4, but you're going for 10.
10 different teams, 10 different seasons. There you go.
But yeah, and it's been exciting. Like, the highs have been higher than anyone thought, but like even the lows, like I will never forget being in that stadium for that Tottenham Champions League game. It was like unbelievable, the emotions of it all. He's just kind of he's had English football kind of in the palm of his hand for 10 years, and it's been extraordinary.
Ciaran, when he arrived, as Simon alluded to, they said his football wouldn't work here in England. They said he wouldn't win here. There is an element of Guardiola wanting to prove the doubters wrong, but 10 years, like he'd done it long before the 10-year mark, hadn't he?
Yeah, I mean there are some who will dogmatically dig into the ideas that he should have won a lot more Champions Leagues, and City are financial doping 115, and that one Simon was saying there about could he do it with West Brom, etc., etc. There'll always be, because that's football and that's tribalism and that's dickheads online, isn't it, with a comment to make all the time. But the doubters who were being precious about the English game, he has absolutely massively. The first title race that City have lost came down to him being defeated by anti-football. Like, Arteta basically taken what he'd learned under Pep and what he'd learned growing up at Barcelona and stuff. Like, I mean, Johan Cruyff would be rolling in his grave because the only thing that defeated Pep at the end was nullifying everything about it. Like, just defense, tactical, professional cheating. I was going to try and use some sort of softer euphemism for it there, but I ran out of steam on it. Like, I was going to say like being economical with the rules, but I gave up and went cheating.
Professional cheating,
But yeah, the time wasting and the long throws and the corners and the set pieces, and just like City, some of the better games, like maybe not the draws where they were a bit turgid, or times where it looked as if they were about to mount a challenge and then it was scuppered for something. But even in the past couple of weeks, in the Brentford game and the Palace game, when they were played such expansive, lovely football, and that's it's just Pep and so many progressive managers who have also came into the league now. I'm not saying they all were in his mould, but the league kind of tried to follow suit in these young, exciting managers with ideas. And so often it was just like your Dyches and your Allardyces and your Moyes and your all those kind of like old-fashioned, very, very much sort of like sawdust on the ground, good old-fashioned British approach. And he changed that, and nobody thought he could. And there was the meme that went around at the start, wasn't it? Where, like, I don't know, there'd be a photo of an under-9s game, or like I don't know, mad football played with a huge, big inflatable ball or something, and they'd be passing it about, and somebody'd say, "And you're trying to tell me that Pep Guardiola hasn't had an influence on English football?" Because people were saying it that often, it became like repetitively, a joke, a meme. But he did, he changed it.
But this is it, Simon. I like go back to that kind of early period of his first season when I was going to press conferences regularly then at the time, and I remember like listening to the questions he was being asked and the things he was talking about, And on the one side, City had that spell where they won the first 10 games under him.
Yeah,
we all went, this is brilliant. I don't understand how it can possibly get better than this. And Guardiola sat in the other side of that press conference going, well, I mean, this is all right, but we can do a lot better than this. Has he changed how you think about football now? Just by reporting on this on his team for 10 years, has he changed what you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, one thing he said that kind of stuck with me quite early on is like, you don't know what my plan is. So it's like, whatever you think of a game, you don't know what he was trying to do. You can say like, oh, his 11 was rubbish today, or what was he thinking not starting a holding midfielder in the Champions League final? But like, only he knows how he expects the game to go. And so only he can really comment on like how it did go. But also just the idea of like, attack and defence being so connected, and that, if the attack do their job, then the defence are better because they're not under pressure, and there's less kind of game states where it's more equal with the opposition. Because if you go 1-0 up, then the opponent has to change and things like that. And you kind of really saw that last season where City just could not score at all, and then it just puts so much pressure on the whole defence to sort of bail the attack out, I suppose. But also, as you sort of very politely said it, but yeah, like 10 games in or 8 games in or whatever to his whole reign, and City have won every game, and he is asked in a press conference, can you win the quadruple, I think? And he just kind of like gave a glare, looked at the floor, just whispered, what the fuck? And then just said no. And that has been, I'm biased because I've sat in that room for 10 years, but he has given, like, I don't think there's been a bigger entertainer in the Premier League in the last 10 years, both, like, obviously his team's on the pitch, but then, like, John Stones and his big balls, like the Hateful Eight from Cass, where he's naming Burnley and everyone else who's voted against him. Like yeah,
he
Trump's
vomits.
America. Like he has been absolute box office, and that is another part of him.
There is another side to this as well, Simon. I didn't want that feature that we've just heard to be like super long, so I couldn't physically get everything in there.
Yeah.
But like he's also used his platform well at times, because he's spoken about Palestine, he's spoken about Sudan. Go back to his first season, he was speaking about Catalan independence. Like there's a time and a place for him to open his mouth, and he always seems to pick the right time.
Yeah, and I think he's open to being called a hypocrite because of working for City with their ownership. But then I think especially this season with the Palestine and the Sudan stuff, like he said that like a week after Khaldoon sat next to Trump at the Board of Peace or whatever it was called. And he was kind of like willing to admit, I do have my own faults. I don't kind of, I'm not perfect, but we should all care about these causes and things like that. And I sort of see it as like, he's kind of football royalty from, his Barcelona academy, whatever, but he's also a Catalan, and kind of politically he's an insurgent, and City are an insurgent club, and they're up against the big heavyweight clubs, and they like kind of that guerrilla warfare going up against them. And Pep's really tapped into that and believes in it, and he has spoken up for causes, but also he has done far more than he needed to, but like more than anyone dreamed he would, to defend City over the charges. Like, because the club haven't really said anything other than the sort of original statements or whatever. And I remember that first week when the charges dropped, and all the fans were like, well, what has happened? What has gone on? And it was Guardiola in that press conference, that first one, who really came out fighting. And he's come out fighting a number of times, I was gonna go, but now I'm not moving from this seat, etc., etc. That like, has really kind of endeared him to people. And you see a lot of, you know, Liverpool, Arsenal fans and everyone saying, like, I wish I could hate this guy, but like he says a lot of stuff that I agree with.
Yeah. Ciaran, just on the charges, because, you know, as the old saying goes, we have to talk about the charges. Does it impact anything? If there is, do we need to see a guilty verdict for his legacy to be remembered as positively as it should be, or is there a world in which a guilty verdict, Guardiola's legacy at City can survive that?
What the fuck? Yeah, it was again just talking about how well he speaks on things. I always felt in really safe hands when it came to the charges and his response on it, because he was just so adamant that, you know, City weren't guilty on it, and even though these charges have hung over the club for going on three years now, is it? And they're still used as a stick to beat City with. So no matter what success is seen, you know, again, the people online, but even the pundits, you know, you've had Carragher talking quite openly about them, and there's that element of bitterness and spite. But Pep was always adamant that City were innocent, and whatever the charges being levelled at them, they weren't guilty of them. So that almost, for me, like separated the club from the charges, and such is the man, and so, you know, so trustworthy and so endearing, and like his conviction is so strong that I always thought, right, well, you know, I believe him, and he says that the club have assured him, and I feel reassured by that. So I never looked at any success that he had or the club has had as being tarnished. But I mean, that's very, very, very blue-eyed and you know, maybe a bit naive on my part, but also I don't really understand him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but also ultimately, City breaking financial fair play rules, which is the allegation, like, that doesn't change anything Guardiola did on the pitch. That doesn't change anything he achieved with the team.
Yeah. It was funny. I think I was saying this to you, David. Like, I texted you about this. You know that famous clip from the Damn United where Brian Clough, played by Michael Sheen, is saying, like, you need to put all your medals in the bin because you won them by bloomin' cheating. You know that one. As soon as Arsenal won last night, I was thinking that, and then I saw that on Twitter today and thought, oh, somebody's, you know, been thinking the same thing as me. But somebody had tweeted it from the point of view of Enzo Maresca when he arrives and his first speech and it was retweeted by an Arsenal fan. I just thought, like, this is upside down land. And they're holding on to this 115 stuff for so long, and I don't know if it's just me being bored of it because I'm a City fan, and not understanding the level of economics and financial, you know, whatever was going on there. But, you know, I can understand on the pitch what Gabriel's doing and what Arteta's doing and what Arsenal seem to be doing. Like, that, to me, that seems like wanton, you know, manipulated, actual, like, premeditated cheating. Whereas there seems to be, like, there's always been, to me, as you say, like a purity about the way Pep's tried to play and the way Pep's tried to set up. And obviously it's a murky underworld, football and finances and you know and what all goes on that we don't know about, kind of thing, and the geopolitics that seems to be creeping in more and more and more. But yeah, like, 115 charges didn't make Kevin De Bruyne hit the free kick under the Cardiff wall in the FA Cup. You know, like, all of that is so just clever, gorgeous, like, really fun, entertaining, the joy of football. And I don't think Pep's legacy, even if you know, after he leaves, it's suddenly revealed that City are guilty, and, you know, the 115 is upheld, and there's all sorts of punishment to be coming. Like, some of the best memories we've ever had and the best football we've ever seen, and, like, it's just, do you know what? I don't even think one memory would change. You know, I wouldn't go, oh, right, well, you know, that doesn't work anymore because we've been found guilty of something.
If there was a guilty verdict in the next 48 hours, Simon, do you reckon he'd stay?
I think there'd be more chance of him staying. I do, again, when all the stories kind of came out, I saw idiots on the internet being like, well, he's running from the charges, he's obviously heard. And I do think I think he will be sad to leave before the charges are resolved, because he genuinely did want to stay. And, you know, this is the guy who loves to be right. He wanted to sit there and say, I told you so. You were all accusing me and the club. We've done nothing wrong.
Hey, mate, in the event of a not guilty verdict, I wouldn't put it past him coming back and doing another press conference.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, yeah. He can always come back. He'll be welcome back anytime. But
please welcome today's special guest for the pre-match press conference.
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola.
Yeah. Colo Torre can sit this one out.
Yeah.
He will, and like some people will say, oh yeah, it's cheating, and some people have said that. Some people have written that in newspapers, would you believe? But like I sort of see, like Ciaran was saying, like you can't just say, oh well, they must win the league every year because they've cheated 10 years ago or they cheated 2 years ago, because otherwise the team with the best resources would win the league every year, and they don't. And it's the same with, I find it similar to when people say, oh well, fans, all the fans' memories will be tainted if it's a guilty verdict. And it's like, no, like they've lived it and those memories are pure. You can't take those away from them, and you know they won't care. It's kind of similar to Southampton now, with like the players talking about suing the club. Like the players haven't done anything wrong, but they might lose out on something because of what the club have done. But you can't say, oh, all the players are cheats just because some blokes dress up in camouflage gear at Oxford United's training ground. So yeah, I don't quite know how I've got to Oxford United's training ground from question about Pep, but we've gone there, so we'll stay with it.
Yeah. I did discover this week actually that there's no anti-spying rules for the Premier League, only for the Football League. So the Premier League clubs could all be at it. That's great fun.
Introducing the new Best Skin Ever Ultra Slim Precision Concealer from Sephora Collection. It's full coverage with a matte finish and perfect for any look. Whether you're building it up for a full glam moment or targeting correction for a more natural vibe. At only $12, it's great for affordable touch-ups on the go. Get this new must-have concealer at Sephora or at Sephora.com today.
You thought this was your Run Club era. Turns out, it was more of a thinking about Run Club era. The good news? Someone's marathon training is about to start. Sell your workout gear on Depop. Just snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. They get their race day fit, and you get a payout for trying. Someone on Depop wants what you've got. Start selling now. Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
Please support the show by becoming a backer. Patreon.com/Blue Moon Podcast.
How do we even begin to process what City will look like post-Guardiola? I've tried to get an idea by speaking to Bayern Munich fan Felipe and first Barcelona fan Manu about their experiences of life after Pep when he was head coach at their clubs.
Wow, I mean, he's probably the most iconic person in Barcelona's history, alongside Leo Messi and Johan Cruyff. I mean, if you think about the three most important persons in the history of the club, probably they're going to be those three. Guardiola and Johan Cruyff, not only for what they did as a coach, also for what they did as a player. Messi, actually, as we all know, he's still playing. And Guardiola, he changed let's say, like, probably Johan Cruyff changed the history of the club, and Guardiola was actually the one that was able to put Barcelona in that level that Johan Cruyff wanted to do back on the days. I mean, the way that he improve Barcelona's football to reach that level of premiumness, the level of excellence, has actually something that everyone remembers in Barcelona. They are like always that debate about Pep's Barcelona or Messi's Barcelona, because Messi was also there. But I have the feeling that what Guardiola did from 2009 till 2012, I think it's actually something that nobody can discuss. And then especially what he was able to do afterwards in other clubs, it actually put him at that level. Like, okay, Barcelona has the chance to grow and to experience, and actually to grow in Barcelona, one of the best coaches ever in the football history. So for all of the Barcelona fans, I would say that he's an iconic person. That the only, let's say, regret that we have at Barcelona is how the hell he has been longer in other clubs than in Barcelona as a coach, because, I mean, you have been super lucky to enjoy him all of those years, and in Barcelona, being such a Barcelona fan as he is, to have not been able to keep him longer is actually the biggest regret that all of Barcelona fans has.
Yeah, well, Felipe, for Bayern Munich, what was it like when Guardiola arrived there? What was the feeling around him?
Well, it was a sort of a weird situation because he arrived on a treble-winning club. We recently won the treble with Jupp Heynckes as our coach, but he was announced 6 months prior to us winning that Champions League in 2013. So it was a clear path that the manager wanted to take. I think that the biggest confusion that Bayern fans have with Guardiola, everybody expected him to win the Champions League, and probably by his last year at Bayern, he should have, because he had one of the best teams in Europe. But I think that the board brought him for his style, and they wanted him to continue that style at Bayern. And then us fans, we expected him not only for his style to be successful, but also for the Champions League to win. Because, yes, the Bundesliga is something that especially local Bayern fans from the Bundesliga in Germany, they like a lot when Bayern wins the Bundesliga. But from the international perspective, and this probably happens with Barcelona fans as well, the expectation is the Champions League. Everybody wants to win the Champions League, and that's like the highest that you can get. I think there was a lot of expectation as to why they were hiring him, because we were doing well with Jupp Heynckes. But I think that the strategy from the club was precisely that one, to have that type of football, that type of style within our club.
Yeah, well, Felipe, how was it then in that case when it was announced Guardiola would be leaving and he would be joining City? What was the kind of feeling around that time?
I think it was expected. I mean, at least for me, I suppose that Guardiola was eventually going to end up coaching a Premier League football team. I'm not a result, like, if you don't win the Champions League, you're a failure type of fan, but there's a lot of them, especially in top clubs. If you don't deliver top trophies at the end of the season, they always want the head coach to resign or to be sacked. For me, it was like, I suppose that he wants to go to the next level. He wants to be in the Premier League, which is far more competitive than the Bundesliga in terms of winning the title. The only bad part was that we replaced him with someone that had the complete opposite of style of Guardiola, which was Ancelotti. Fantastic coach, but how do you go from Guardiola to Ancelotti? That's completely different styles, different type of management. And I think that's where the mistake was. Not because he wasn't a good coach, he's a fantastic coach, but of the style. If you hire Guardiola because you want him to have that style in our club, then the logical conclusion is that if he's not going to extend his contract, then hire someone that is going to continue his style.
Yeah, Manu, for Barcelona, what was it like when he left Barcelona as manager? Because like the style thing was a very important part of his tenure at Barcelona. How did things move on from there?
Yeah, actually at Barcelona, it was shocking when he announced that he was going to leave. That's true that his last season at Barcelona, he's actually not doing so well. After winning in the first two seasons La Liga, and actually in the first seasons Champions League. Then in the third season, also League and Champions League. That's true that in the fourth season, they already lose La Liga against Mourinho's Real Madrid, and you could realize that he was already, like getting tired. But nobody expected him to leave because he was well considered as the best coach in the world, and he was actually training at home. But then when he decides to leave, he leaves like a sentence that actually a lot of people they tend to forget. And in my opinion, it was key that he says that for him it's better to leave because otherwise they will start to damage each other, him and people that he loves in the club. A lot of people they rely on that it could be later his relationship with Messi. Many other people they were saying that it was him and Cesc Fabregas, him and Gerard Piqué, like already big players within the dressing room that after 4 years with Guardiola or 3 years with Guardiola, they could start to feel like, okay, they're going to start to have here some tensions. Guardiola preferred to avoid those tensions, and that's why he decided to leave. What happened that when he decides to leave, actually Barcelona offered the opportunity to step as a first coach to Tito Vilanova, who was his assistant. So we didn't face this kind of issue that, for example, Felipe was mentioned with Bayern because there was this continuity. Actually, Tito Vilanova did super well in that season that he was actually as a head coach because he just keep working in the same way as Guardiola did. That's true that Barcelona was probably not performing as excellent as it was in terms of the way of playing, but the results, they were there. I mean, at Barcelona reached 100 points with Tito Vilanova, actually more points that never ever Guardiola has done with the club. But that's true that because of his sickness and actually because how he performed as well in Champions League, if I'm not mistaken, we lost against Bayern Munich, actually was 7-0 in the semi-final. You could see that, like similar what happened with Liverpool and Arne Slot. I mean, he in the first year, he just keep extremely what Jurgen Klopp was doing, and then it went down. I think it happens the same with Barcelona and Villas-Nova. And then let's say that after 1 year Guardiola left is when Barcelona actually faced that issue. Okay, now Guardiola is not here. Now Villanova cannot be here. We need to start from scratch. They signed Tata Martino. It didn't work well. And until Luis Enrique, let's say that Barcelona was not able to get back to that level. So as you were mentioning, I think that for Barcelona was shocking, and it was like obviously bad news. I mean, as I'm telling you, I think that Barcelona still, all of Barca fans regrets that Guardiola has not been there all of those years. And similar that can be happening now with Luis Enrique. But yeah, at the end, Barcelona obviously, as all of the big teams, as Bayern is doing right now with Company, at the end, big teams, they have like different periods, they have like different good moments. And when you are able to find out a good amount of good players, you can actually start winning a game. But most probably for City, the next years they are going to be difficult because they are not coaches as Guardiola, able to give you that consistency, to give you that DNA, like you go to watch your team and you know how your team is going to go, how your team is going to play. They can win, they can lose, but you have like a kind of idea behind that actually is in general like a football that the fans, they feel identified, or they feel that they enjoy the game. So I'm going to the stadium, I'm going to enjoy to watching my team 9 out of 10 games. And that's actually something that you cannot get with so many coaches in the world.
Yeah, Felipe, is that a problem that, as you mentioned, with the change in style with Bayern Munich that you guys faced? I mean, how do fans deal with kind of moving on from an era where the football is so good as Guardiola can provide?
Yeah, I think that it was difficult. Well, at the beginning, everybody was, like I said, when you're a fan that is based basically on what trophies you win at the end of the season, and you announce that you're going to replace Guardiola with Ancelotti, then it's all marvelous because Ancelotti has an excellent record in the Champions League. So everybody was thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll sacrifice the style in order to win the Champions League, and that's something that we're willing to sacrifice. But there were other people, me included, that I don't want to sacrifice my style. I want my team to play well. I want my team to play offensively, to have the football, and to play that style. And to think that we were going to change that with Ancelotti, I don't think that the players were going to adapt well to that change because there's different type of trainings. And actually, that was one of the reasons that after they sacked Ancelotti, they were the media in Germany were saying that many of the players didn't like the style of Ancelotti in training because it was too soft compared to what Guardiola was doing. Now, I think that in the end, you have to blame the management for bringing in a coach that didn't have the same style that Guardiola had, and you need to understand that if you have a certain type of players that depend on that, the same thing happened to Real Madrid this season. They bring in Xavi Alonso, which was a fantastic coach at Bayer Leverkusen, but he's not the type of coach that these players need. So I think it's crucial for you to understand that if you're going to replace Guardiola, I think with Maresca now, everything points that he's going to be the replacement. You need to, if he continues down that path, he's going to win most of the players because they say, okay, change of coach, but the philosophy is sort of the same. Of course, every coach is going to have their own opinion and he's going to prefer X player to the other player. But if the idea is basically the same, I don't think it's going to have that much of an impact in Manchester City as it did with my club and with Manu's club.
Yeah. Well, Manu, just to finish, I mean, I'm going to find this week very difficult watching Guardiola leave City, and he's been here, longer than any other manager in my lifetime. He's managed more games for the club than any other manager in City's history. As a Barcelona fan who grew up, watching him play for Barcelona and then go on and create such a good era as a manager, what advice do you have for dealing with the next few days? Because it's going to be emotional, it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be different when he's gone. So like, what would you say to City fans?
Wow, I would say that keep all of the actually keep the positive mentality. Hey, I mean, okay, he's leaving, but how many years I actually have the chance to go to the stadium and watch this incredible Manchester City that it was actually like a fun to watch and a joy to watch. So I would say keep that positivity from that side. Obviously, try to be honest and understand that probably the next years they are not going to be easy. It's going to be super difficult or even impossible to find a coach that is going to allow you to have this kind of feelings again. But it doesn't say that. But it doesn't mean that you are not going to actually have in the future another coach that playing completely different style. You are going to be able to enjoy football. I mean, I have enjoyed a lot last year with Barcelona's Hansi Flick. I think it has been incredible, nice to watch. Very electric with this high pressure that he likes to do. Maybe not controlling. Maybe not for sure not controlling the football as Guardiola used to do, but there is these possibilities as well. So what I can tell you is keep all of those good memories. Lucky you that you have the chance to have Guardiola so many years in your team, longer than at Bayern on Barcelona. Obviously understand that what will come next maybe is not going to be so pleasant, but as we used to say in my region, there is never a storm that doesn't allow the sun to appear again.
You may think you know McDonald's drinks, but you don't know them like this. From fruity refreshers like the Strawberry Watermelon Refresher and the Mango Pineapple Refresher with popping boba, to crafted sodas like the Sprite Berry Blast with berry-flavored Sprite topped with cold foam. Who knew ice-cold drinks could be so fire? 6 all-new drinks are here. Try them all, now at McDonald's. Refreshers contain caffeine.
This is the Blue Moon Podcast. Listen to it, drink it in.
Felipe and Manu there talking me through the experience of Guardiola leaving Bayern Munich and Barcelona. Simon, are we expecting some sort of formal announcement before the game on Sunday? Do they kind of need to do it, don't they?
Yeah, I think it will come in the next days. I would be very well. I don't know. It's no. I think it will come. I'm just. My worry is Friday's press conference, and we get there, and there is still no statement, and we have to go through the charade again of. So Pep, any knocks? But yeah, they have to, and I mean because the Monday parade was a bit weird as well. You know, I think that was a red flag for a lot of people that like, why are they doing an FA Cup parade? And I know it's for the women's team as well, but the women's team have still got an FA Cup final to play that week, so slightly odd to do it, but yeah, like I think the fans deserve it. I think the fans need to know well in advance with official confirmation that look, Sunday's his final game, because you know he might kind of have wished to go out with nobody knowing, or you know just kind of a late reveal at the end, but because it's out there, I think the club need to do it, and I think they will. I'd be surprised if we don't have it by Friday.
Yeah. Ciaran, is it sad that there's nothing riding on this, or is there, or does that just make it the opportunity to be one massive party and celebration? Because Villa will have won the Europa League. Like City, like they're in this position now where they can't do anything other than finish second. I mean, God help us when we get to predicting this game a bit later on. But like, it just kind of feels now like make the afternoon a party.
I mean, if we've all been there at the Etihad when it's had those anxious, tense moments, it's not a very pleasant place, and it can feel a little bit. I really don't want to use the word empty, like for the stadium, but I just mean like spiritually. You know, when you're nervous and anxious, and nobody's singing and nobody's speaking and everybody's just on the edge of their seats, really, really wanting something. And when you think of how many intense games there have been under Pep in all competitions at all times, it's just so much panic sets in, and that desire kind of manifests itself into real nervous tension. So probably for him, well, for all of us, it would have been nicer and preferable to be going in, you know, with a twist and turn potential, and to defeat the evil empire of Arsenal Football Club. But yeah, this way it can be a big party.
I'm impressed by the level of bitterness that you're showing in this episode, and also the fact that you're just not going to pull those punches.
Well, I was thinking about this. Like, I think you've crafted a lovely podcast where you quite often have very mature gentlemen and ladies on who you know find bitterness a bit gauche. But you know what? I'm pissed off. I really, 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 really hate that. You know this Arteta's Arsenal. Like they're not nice, and it feels like they've got away with one, and we weren't good enough to stop them. But we were so close, and you know when you add that in. When you add that into Pep leaving, it's just, you know, it is such a. I am a bit salty about it, like, because I think it's my grief and sadness kind of manifesting itself in, you know, being a bit of a bitch. Like, that's it. More so than, you know, actually caring that much. I wasn't all that devastated in my heart that City had lost it, because, you know, I know that we're work in progress, and I know that we've seen so much success under Guardiola and you know, even before that. But it's just, I didn't think this Arsenal side deserved it, which is mental, because, you know, people say that, don't they? Like, oh, if only there was some sort of league table that suggested who the best team was over the season. But, you know, the best team won, but the best team weren't that good. It's mad. So, yeah, I suppose we can be a bit, you know, allow Pep to have his feet up a little bit. Hopefully Stones and Bernardo get a massive send-off, and so does Pep. It could be a party atmosphere, you know, in a really nice way, and hopefully collectively we can live out our sadness and grief together, and also, you know, think back and reflect over the lovely 10 years that have gone. Like, I don't want to think about it. It's fucking horrible, isn't it? Like,
I'm sorry, but
so,
like, yeah,
it's just peaks and troughs. Just such a roller coaster of like, is this really happening? Like, it's a bit surreal.
Yeah, it will be, Simon, his 593rd match in charge of City, which is one more than any other manager in the club's history. I'm just wondering if they'd been knocked out of the FA Cup a bit earlier in the competition, he might have stayed on for another season.
You've done that twice to me now.
I know.
First with the Chargers, and then with this. Just you stop trying to make him stay.
I mean, we can talk it into existence. I mean, like the other side of this is like the new North Stand will be open, and it's there is a rumor on the horizon that it could be possibly the Pep Guardiola stand. Which I mean, I don't know. Is that a fitting send off? Because I don't know if it's enough. If you could, like, can we just rename Manchester, name the city after him?
Yeah, I think I hope he won't mind me saying, but my colleague Jack Gorn suggested that it would be more fitting to name the training centre after him and have the Pep Guardiola Football Academy, and I think that would probably be more fitting. But nobody's gonna sell. That's what they do in naming a stand after him, because he's had such a monumental impact. Although, yeah, also John Farrell, who you may also know, suggested that it should be the Aguero end, because it is the Aguero end. So yeah, I'm firmly on the fence. Really, I couldn't care whether they name the stand after him or not. I sort of think it's a thing that he would probably like, but also be a bit put off by, and kind of not want the attention, but also secretly be like, yeah, I have earned that. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to. I think it's a shame that they didn't get the win at Bournemouth, because I think they could have kind of gone 1 or 2-0 up very quickly against Aston Villa, and you can imagine kind of the tension at Selhurst with Arsenal kind of panicking. But I think Arsenal would have won, and I think I don't think Sunday deserves kind of any chance for there to be like a flatness or an emptiness or anything like that. And I kind of think it might be like when was it, 2021, when Aguero left, when City had already won the league. I think it had been COVID, so were there maybe 10,000 fans for the first time, and Aguero was not fit whatsoever, but came off the bench and scored 2 to get the record for most goals for a foreign player in the Premier League, I think. But he was just like full of joy, and there was nothing to ride on. And I do think the fact that Guardiola has, I think it's nice that he reaches the milestone of most games by virtue of winning the FA Cup and Carabao Cup.
Yeah.
Because, it shows how much he has achieved in 10 years.
Yeah, there is the other side of this, Simon, as well. As I don't know if there's a sense of this, because I don't know how much the result on Tuesday night was down to the story breaking in the day, and how much of it was fatigue from Wembley. But Guardiola strikes me as someone who has been saying all year, I've got a contract, because he doesn't he didn't want the attention of if you announce it in January, it's the Pep Guardiola farewell tour for the rest of the season, and he strikes me as someone who didn't want that.
No, and we've seen in previous years that when he does get into the final year of his contract, a lot of press conferences become like, yeah, why haven't you decided? And I don't think he's been set for that long. Like, I think he was probably more out than in for most of the season, but at the same time, I don't think he's kind of finally. I don't think he's been set since Christmas. Like, right, I'm leaving. I think it's been weeks rather than months, maybe. So it has been something that's kind of been at the back of his mind. And like, if he turned around tomorrow and said, no, actually, I want to stay, City will keep him, and Enzo Maresca will kind of go, I don't know, back into the fridge maybe to wait. But I've been impressed with kind of how he has kept it at bay, and how he has kept the attention off him. And yeah, he's done enough in press conferences to to insist, really. I've written insist a lot in the last few months. Insist he's got 1 year left on his contract. So, yeah, I think, as ever, like, he's been very, very smart at getting the coverage that he wants and not getting the coverage that he doesn't want.
Yeah. Well, it's Villa on Sunday. We had a correct prediction for the FA Cup final and the charity bet. That was Dan Burke adding 65 quid into the pot. That means that we've raised £770 for this season on the charity bet. William Hill is giving us 3 £10 correct score singles. The winnings are going to the Man City fans food bank support group, and they'll be collecting outside the Etihad again ahead of the final day. So please go and see them with a donation if you can, and let's try and make it a big one for the last day, and that includes us on the podcast. Try and make it one last charity bet win. We'll start with you, Ciaran. What are you having for this? This is a game where, as I say, Aston Villa have won the Europa League. City have got nothing to play for. Who on earth knows? So best of luck.
I've gone for Manchester City 2, Aston Villa 1, which is a bookend to Pep's career. The first match and the last match end in the same way.
Nice.
Yeah, well, that's 13-2 if it happens. Simon, what are you having?
4-1. No symmetry, but they beat Villa every year, just as they struggle at Villa Park every year. So why not? Villa will be still celebrating their Europa League win, unless they've lost during the time that we record it.
Well, they're 3-0 up with a couple of minutes left, so I think we'll be all right.
It's full time.
It's full time. There we go. They've won. There we go. Breaking news, everyone who hears this hours after it's happened. 14-1 and 140 quid if you're right. Mine's also 14-1. I've gone for 3-2 City. That's also 140 quid if I'm right. You've got to be 18 or over to gamble. Prices can change, and for information on responsible gambling, take a look at gambleaware.org. One very, very quick listener question this week, and to carry on the theme, John on the emails says, do you think Enzo Maresca is the right choice to succeed Guardiola? Do you feel like it's a transition that has been well planned? And Ciaran, I can see pros and cons to this ultimately, because he does offer continuity from Pep's ideas and from he was part of the backroom staff. You know, he's there with the treble winning team, and as Felipe and Manu were talking about earlier, like keeping consistency with ideas is always a good thing when transitioning out of Guardiola football. The cons, I guess, he doesn't have a huge amount of experience as a head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I'd paid more attention to him at Leicester and Chelsea, because these days I only really watch City and care about City really. I don't have time or energy really to focus on other matches and other managers and what they're up to. Other than the obvious kind of like what my mates say and what I see online and stuff. But I've been wanting to know since the story broke, why they were so absolutely set on him, because that's what was reported on the very first day that it was broken, that they had Maresca lined up, and his name has never gone away. And the fact that so many City fans want company and things like that, or eyeing up other sort of more established world class managers. People have been talking about Luis Enrique and things like that. So yeah, it surprised me that he was so set in stone, because in my kind of mind's eye, the Leicester fans kind of turned on him a bit, didn't they? And he was seen, his brand of football was seen as a bit stale and boring, and maybe, I don't know. And then he left Chelsea pretty with a bit of, I don't know, was there a bit of controversy, or it didn't end very well for him there. So I don't know. Yeah, it's starting to make sense now. The more I hear about it, and the more people who are more knowledgeable talk about it, that it is a consistency. I forgot that he was there for the treble. It is a nice kind of passing of the baton. I wonder. I don't know. You would hate to think that Pep has, chosen him, because as we know from Old Trafford, like the outgoing legendary status manager choosing the successor doesn't always work out very well. But I suppose that consistency, and I think he seems to be a little bit more warm with his players than perhaps Pep is, but still has that sort of style of play. So in weird ways, I am excited, because a change is interesting, but big shoes to fill in it. Like, and you know, and how can we expect? You were expecting to win every game and every trophy. Not expecting, but like, you know, there was a chance that would have happened under Pep, and it's just not going to be like that anymore. So, in a weird way, I'm kind of excited about that. But I can say that now, and frustration could fit in. You know, could come in very easily. So I don't know. It's going to be new and interesting, and who knows.
I just wonder, Simon, if there's always a case of, you know, sometimes you get the manager you need rather than the manager you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, is that a line from Batman?
I
think it might be, you know.
See, I nicked it from Doctor Who.
Not manager, superhero in the hero you need. Pretty sure it's... is
it Batman?
The Dark Knight, yeah.
Batman in the dugout? Is that?
Yeah, we could go with that. And it'd be interesting for press conferences, I'll tell you. But, yeah, be well dressed in the dugout at least. Enzo, yeah, he's kind of... I get what Ciaran's saying. I don't think he's kind of been the only one. And I don't think City have been like, for 6 months, yes, it's you and nobody else. We really love you. More than anyone else. And we're not even considering anyone else. He's just kind of been there, and it kind of got reported because he was at Chelsea and he was having the big bust-ups at Chelsea. And then he is...
The bust-ups, Simon, what were the bust-ups related to? And is that something that we should be concerned about? Was it not having talks with City? Is he a bus?
Yeah, there was something of that, but then he is just quite a... I think when he got the Chelsea job from Leicester, I think people kind of thought, oh, he's got that job because he'll kind of like be a blue co man and just agree with whatever they do. And then he's not that. He's kind of his own character, and he's a bit spiky. And you know, he made some pretty big calls while he was there. You know, like getting rid of Raheem Sterling and picking like 10 of them and saying, you're not in the dressing room anymore. You're kind of in a separate thing and all that. So he's not afraid to make big decisions and unpopular decisions. And also, yeah, the Leicester fans didn't really like his style of play. Chelsea fans didn't really like his style of play, and he said tough. And you know, it's not as enterprising a style of play as Guardiola say, but it's a pretty similar principle. That's what Pep spent his first year doing, saying like, I'm not going to change my style of football because you don't like it or anything like that. So yeah, I think it's kind of underestimated how much City value like a CFG man and someone who's been in their system before, especially if they're looking for kind of a continuity candidate. But also like he's kept himself available, and he's never really like, you know, I had an Italian guy say to me like, oh, so, you know, Maresca to City then? And I was like, well, yeah, but why not like Maresca to Italy? Because why has he not been linked to taking the Italy job? Because he's Italian and he's just managed Chelsea, and he like there are a lot of jobs that he could have been linked with and could have taken since he left Chelsea, and he's not. And like when City are signing a player, like they like people who kind of want to be there and think they can be there and have a point to prove. And so, yeah, I don't think it's like the most exciting appointment, and nobody is Pep, but I think he ticks a lot of boxes, and I can completely see why City think he will be successful with them.
Mm-hmm. We will see how it goes as of next season. But for now, that's it for this episode of the Blue Moon Podcast. Thank you very much to my guests for this one, Simon Bajkowski.
Thank you very much.
And Ciaran Murray.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Pep.
Did I tell you, I had a dream years and years ago that I was in his last press conference, and I got the mic and said, hi Pep, I don't have a question, I just want to say thank you, and the room applauded. We'll not be doing that this week, I can promise you.
Have you tweeted about that? Because I'm sure he'll probably say it.
Well, it's a point, actually. I could just do that, couldn't I? You can still get tickets for the live podcast episode. That's taking place at Idle Hands in Manchester next week on Tuesday the 26th of May, starting at 8 o'clock, and our special guest will be the former City manager Brian Horton. Tickets are £5 from tickets.bluemoonpodcast.com, and all the money from the tickets will go to the Man City Fans Food Bank Support Group. There is a clip of this week's Nostalgia episode coming up shortly as well. That was Ciaran here alongside Adam Monk picking Rodri's best 10 City goals. If you want to hear the full thing now, just head on over to members.bluemoonpodcast.com. We've got one last time with Guardiola on Sunday, so enjoy it and we'll see you on the other side. Take care.
That was the Blue Moon Podcast. Please give the show a rating and a review where you can, and don't forget, you can listen without the ads by signing up to our Patreon. You'll also get an extra episode each Monday. Here's a clip of this week's.
90th minute winner Topo at the Emirates against the run of play as well, which I loved because we low-key got battered that day.
The best bit about that Arsenal goal, Adam, is two real good bits about it is that obviously it's the 93rd, 94th minute, last kick of the game territory, and as the ball comes into the box, there are two City players in the box. One of them is Laporte and the other one is Rodri. It's like, what on earth is this City team doing with those two as the furthest forward?
It's the Amorim playbook, isn't it? Get Maguire up front.
and then the second part of that is he pokes the ball in and he's got two options. He could go and celebrate with the City fans to his left, or he could take his shirt off and run at the Arsenal fans to his right. Which does he do? He gives for the Arsenal fans. Incredible
He chose
stuff.
the better option. And I remember, because I was in the press box, I remember after the match we went down to interview Rodri and we did it in that corner flag that he ran to. And I remember walking round, right, the stewards hadn't cleaned up. I don't know if you remember, but Arsenal fans started throwing projectiles at him.
Yeah, he got pelted, didn't he?
There was a full bog roll. So whoever that Arsenal fan was, impressive that you either got that into the ground or out of the box to then launch at Rodri in anticipation of them throwing that game.
You can listen to more of that at patreon.com/Blue Moon Podcast. And join us again next time for another episode.